Good afternoon. I would like to welcome colleagues from across Europe who have joined us today. I'm Dr. Anne Payne and I'm the Academic Lead for Dietetics at Plymouth University in the United Kingdom. This presentation is given on behalf of the Diets Network. This is a European network to promote education, training and lifelong learning for dietitians. I would especially like to thank Angela Garcia from Spain, who has given her support in preparing the slides for today's session. So thank you, Angela. Now, page down. Okay, slide 2, overview. This presentation will take approximately 20 minutes, followed by 10 minutes for questions, but these will be my questions to you. We will discuss the ECT system during this session today, the aim of ECTS, what ECTS credits mean, what they measure, how they can be applied to learning, and how they are used by universities. We will also discuss how students are able to transfer credits between universities and how ECTS can be applied to lifelong learning. I'll then ask you to answer my 3 questions, and then it's over to you to take the chance, or as we say in the UK, have a go. Now.
And just down the bottom there are 2 little arrows that you can use.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Michelle. Okay, slide 3. So, what is the ECTS system? Well, ECTS means European Credit Transfer and Accumulation System. ECTS is a credit system for higher education used in all countries engaged in the Bologna process. This essentially means Europe. ECTS are awarded by authorised higher education institutes across Europe, and this is usually universities or university colleges. The Bologna process is a 3-cycle system of education delivered by higher education institutes across Europe. You will be familiar with this. HEIs, as I said, are usually colleges or universities, and the 3-cycle system comprises bachelor's, master's and doctorate level degrees. Bologna also addresses quality assurance in education and also European-wide recognition of qualifications and workloads of study. So what is the aim of ECTS? The aim is to make teaching and learning in higher education more transparent across Europe. We will discuss how we achieve this transparency over the next few slides. It also permits the transferability of learning achievements between institutions and countries in Europe. And we will discuss this and the next point in more depth later. And so, ECTS aim to make it easier to recognise both non-formal and informal learning on a higher education level. So what do we mean by this? Well, we'll come back to that too later. ECTS aim therefore to promote a learner-centred system of higher education in Europe. By this learner-centred approach, we mean putting learning at the heart of the design and delivery of the curriculum, and giving learners more choice in the content, location, teaching methods and pace of learning compared to traditional teaching. Traditional teaching tends to be a teacher-centred approach that requires the subject requirements, knowledge and teaching process are very focused on the HEI requirements rather than the learner's requirements. Today, we ideally encourage a learner-centred approach where institutions take on the role of facilitating and supporting learners in shaping their own learning pathways and helping them to build on their individual learning styles and experiences. So finally, ECTS are aimed at creating a European higher education arena. So, what do ECTS credits measure? Well, they measure the workload. It is the time students typically need to complete all learning activities, such as lectures, seminars, projects, practical work, self-study and examinations. A lot of different activities in order to achieve the expected learning outcomes. I'm sure most people listening will be familiar with the term learning outcomes, as it's widely used in higher education in relation to modules of teaching. This is what a learner is expected to know, understand and be able to do after successful completion of a process of learning. So these are the competencies achieved. One ECTS credit corresponds to between 25 and 30 hours of work. The workload is the time typically needed for completion of the learning outcomes. In total, one module typically includes 78 ECTS with an average of 200 hours of learning. However, the actual time required by an individual to complete their studies differs from person to person. Some will progress more quickly and others more slowly. The learning activities may also be very different in different countries, institutions and subject areas, but typically the estimated workload will result from the sum of the total contact hours and time spent by individuals studying alone or in groups. And we're going to go on now to look at an example of a module or program of teaching. So we can see that in this example, that comprises 174 hours in total, or 6 ECTS, we have 30 hours of face-to-face teaching, 2 hours per day of study, with a total of 60 hours of study in the module. This is a practical laboratory-based module with 40 hours of laboratory work, 10 hours of laboratory record writing, and 16 hours at the bottom here for work on a literature search. In practice, the allocation of credits to single educational components, such as this module, is designed as part of the design of a new curriculum. It is generally the responsibility of HEIs and academic staff to decide how many hours a student will be studying different aspects of a module, though in some countries this is actually predetermined by the government, so there is quite variation across Europe at the present time. The teaching staff will define the learning outcomes of each programme or the module of study, and they will describe the learning activities, such as we have here. And so will arrive at this estimated workload typically needed for a student to complete the module. We also need to consider assessment and examinations. Allocation of credit for exam preparation varies widely, as the amount of time needed for students to prepare for an exam will vary depending on the format and the length of the exam. This is a good example of the flexibility of ECTS credits and our ability to apply the system in a wide range of situations to suit the needs of our students. Now, if you're listening in here as a university teacher, I'm sure you'll be familiar with this process of credit allocation to teaching load. It's very similar within universities throughout the world. However, at present, even within a single EU country, the system for allocating educational credit to learning varies considerably from university to university, and that's why we have this system of ECTS credit. It's aimed at creating a uniform language for allocating academic credit across Europe. So, let's consider where